Hi there, my name is Lo. Welcome to my channel where I discuss everything between Hermes and grocery bags. If you are new to my channel, welcome. If you are returning, then welcome as well. But you may also be noticing that the setup today is a little bit different. I got a new camera, so could be that my setup may change over the next couple of videos as I'm trying to figure out what kind of setup works well for me. Today I want to do a tag video. I've been tagged by the lovely Deandra Bolton to show my loud luxury collection. So Deandra did this video quite recently. By the way, very interesting video. Definitely go check it out and subscribe to her channel. Her details will be linked down below. But she did this video quite recently and she tagged me. And I was thinking, well, this is going to be a challenging one because I was already doing quiet luxury before quiet luxury really became a thing. But if you know me, then you also know that I like to do a little bit of a twist on tag topics. So rather than just showing what I have in terms of loud luxury, I'm also going to explain why loud luxury doesn't work all that well for me, while in principle I really don't have anything against it aesthetically. So perhaps before I start off showing you these bags, what actually is loud luxury, or what does loud luxury mean to me? Well, I'm going to go with a fairly simple definition, namely that on loud luxury the branding is more prominent than it is on items that are quiet luxury. Of course, it's not a very black and white thing. I rather like to think of these things on a scale of items really having no branding whatsoever, or perhaps brands that are just very non-recognizable for the general public, to a bag that perhaps has a monogram print of a very well-known luxury brand that everybody recognizes. And because it's such a sliding scale, that's also a bit of where the nuance lays for me. So I had a look at my bag collection, and I would say that about 20% of them have some form of branding on them that is recognizable to somebody who would, for example, just pass me on the street. Then I also have a lot of bags that have very minimal branding, like a small hot stamp on the front or perhaps even on the back of the bag, which would make it very hard to recognize for people if they don't already know the brand or the bag. So here I gathered 4 examples of bags that I would consider fairly loud within my collection. Just to start off on the side over here, this is my Coach Dalton bag. It's honestly a bag that I don't really use at all. I've actually been meaning to sell it, which is in part related to the monogrammed canvas, if you can call it like that we have on both sides. But primarily I'm just not really reaching for this bag because this is not a very practical style for me. It is quite a big bag, but it doesn't actually hold all that much in terms of what I would like a big bag to hold, but that is a story for another time. In a similar vein of sort of recognizable print on the bag, I also have this Longchamp bag. It sort of has an impression of the Longchamp logo all over the bag with the rider on the horse. It doesn't scream Longchamp in terms of it doesn't actually have the letters spelling out Longchamp, but if you know the logo, you're definitely going to recognize the Longchamp logo in this. And the Longchamp Le Pliage is of course generally just a very recognizable bag for those who know just the tiniest bit about handbags. Then the biggest assortment of loud bags that I have are basically bags that have the branding spelled out on the bag. So this is, for example, my YSL clutch, my envelope clutch, which has the YSL logo on the front. And those of you who know me also know that I have the Marc Jacobs, the tote bags, in pretty much every size that they come in. It's a very practical bag that I absolutely love, and I know that there's people who don't like the branding on this, but it is actually something that I like. Which kind of brings me back to the point that I'm not per se against loudness in luxury or contemporary brands, but there are a couple of reasons why this is generally not the way for me to go, and why 80% of my bag collection doesn't have a very high brand recognizability in it. So let's start with 2 fairly practical aspects of why I'm not a very big fan of loud luxury items. First of all, when we think of brands like Gucci, LV, but there's also plenty of other brands like Fendi that have some sort of monogram canvas or fabric. What it comes down to one way or another is that it is actually a print. And I know that people have described the LV canvas as the perfect neutral. To me, it is still a print. And frankly, I am just really bad at combining prints. Once I already wear one print, I don't really know how to move forward combining it with another print. Some people are very talented at that. India from Bags and Lifestyle is a great example. My brain just goes into error once I am already wearing one print. I don't really know how to combine it with another print. Then the second practical point is that a lot of these printed bags are then canvas or fabric. There's of course exceptions like the empreinte leather of LV. There's also an embossed or debossed leather on Fendi bags. So this is not really fully conclusive, but generally I'm not really willing to spend luxury bag type of money on bags that are made of canvas or out of fabric. It's not a strong argument, but it is definitely part of the reason of why I don't gravitate all too much towards these bags. And therefore also the bags that I do have with these prints tend to be more in the contemporary segment, because that is a price point I'm still willing to pay for a canvas or a fabric bag. Nevertheless, the main reason that I don't lean all too much towards loud luxury is frankly of what it signals to others. And I don't always want to signal to others that I'm wearing a very expensive bag. That doesn't only have to do with brand recognizability, but just general recognizability, I would have to say, which is why I also wouldn't walk around with a Birkin bag from Hermes. Yes, you may say it's quiet luxury in the sense of very limited branding on the bag, but everybody knows what a Birkin looks like. And people are going to have thoughts about other people walking around with a Birkin. So, first of all, I think the primary aspect is safety. I prefer not to signal to people out on the street that I'm wearing a very expensive bag. They might have assumptions about what may be in that bag or how much money I have, and I could potentially put myself at risk. But then there's also another aspect, and I actually saw an Instagram reel on that today from It's Celesta, but I know this topic has also been covered by Sophie Shohet before. In any case, there's quite a lot to do about wearing luxury handbags in a workplace. And I know that it's not really something that you perhaps should be caring about as an individual, but workplaces are political. People are going to have opinions about you if they see you walking around with a luxury handbag. You really need to read the workplace, be aware of your environment before you decide if it's a good idea to bring the luxury bag into the workplace. Because people are going to have some weird assumptions about you not taking your job seriously or not needing a raise because apparently you have so much money to spend that you can waste it on luxury handbags. I want to try and make sure that I'm going to invest in items that stand the test of time and that I don't have to put 3/4 of my collection on hold if I would move to a job where people are more opinionated about luxury items. So in that sense, just going with quiet or low-key luxury items is an easier bet for me. But before we round off, I do have to say that there's one aspect about quiet luxury that is just really personal to me, and that doesn't really have to do anything with the things I just mentioned. And that's simply that I kind of like the if you know, you know vibe. I really enjoy being part of this community where we have an interest in particular items that we might not really share with those around us. And I think that's also the reason why a lot of us turn to YouTube to find like-minded people who like handbags as much as we do. And it's very easy to recognize a Louis Vuitton bag on the street. I mean, everybody does, because everybody knows what the LV branding looks like. But secretly, I just also enjoy this unspoken bond that you sometimes create with strangers over carrying a handbag from which not everybody recognizes what it is. And I think there's some similarity in the watch community, for example, and I can imagine it's the same in other communities where perhaps you are wearing a very special kind of sneaker and nobody's going to appreciate it except for yourself and the person who knows just as much about it as you do. So it's really weird because it's quite often unspoken. It is seeing somebody's bag on the street and making eye contact and recognizing like, hey, I know that bag and that's a very cool bag. But I really simply enjoy that because it's the recognition due to the passion and not the recognition that is due to the branding on the bag that you carry. But having said that, the practical aspects of loud luxury mostly outweigh that if you know, you know sensation that I prefer. They unfortunately also outweigh how interesting I do find loud luxury at times, but I just will not commit to it. When I do commit to it, it just tends to be more in the contemporary realms, because that is a level of signaling that I'm just more comfortable with, instead of walking around with really the high luxury brands. And that is how my collection ended up being mostly a quiet luxury collection, even before quiet luxury was a thing. Really nothing against it. Looking at Deandra's collection, for example, absolutely beautiful, super fun. She really knows how to wear those items. And I will definitely continue to appreciate those of her, but also of other content creators who tend to go for the more loud luxury items from the appropriate distance. So that's all that I had to say on the matter. Let me know down below in the comments, are you more team loud luxury or team quiet luxury? Not trying to polarize here, but let me know what your preferences are and what your reasoning is for going for a particular style over the other. Per usual, my YouTube friends will be tagged down below to discuss this topic if they want to. If you haven't been tagged, but you want to discuss this topic as well, feel free to do so. Make sure you mention me so I can check out your video when it is online. Thanks for watching. Remember, there's a styling situation and a taste for everything, so don't judge, wear whatever bag you like. Until next time, or as we would say in Dutch, doei!